joined here today with Walt Lin, who's the head of local and maps at Snap. And I'm super excited to just dive in, Walt, and talk about the why and how you built Snap Map. But before we do that, I'd love to just take a quick poll of the room. Who here has used Snapchat? Okay, it's a pretty good amount of people. And who here has used Snap Map? Okay, cool. That's great. But I think it still might be worth sort of starting with a quick sort of intro into like what is Snapchat, or sorry, Snap Map?
Sure. Thanks. So Snap Map is a product that we launched in June of last year. And Snap Map is really a social map. Mm-hmm. So if you think about traditional and conventional maps as a static representation of the world, mm-hmm. Snap Map is really a living, breathing, dynamic representation of your world and what matters to you. And so that's seeing your friends on the map, and also understanding what's happening in real time anywhere in the world on the map. And so really our mission with Snap Map is to inspire people to engage with their close friends, experience their local surroundings, and explore the global community. And so how do we do that? So first and foremost, Snap Map is about sharing location with your friends. So when you first go into the map, you're prompted to share your location. It's totally opt-in. You can choose to share it with all of your friends or with a specific number of friends. And then once you do that, you open the map and you see Bitmojis, which you can see here on the screen. Bitmojis of all of your friends, where they are in real time, and what they're up to. And so every time I open the map and see Bitmojis of the team at the office or all my friends hanging out together on the map, it always brings a huge smile to my face. And so one of the things that we're really trying to do is encourage real-life interactions. And so there's been countless times where I've been out and seen friends or coworkers who are at a restaurant or bar nearby, and then it really encourages you to chat them and then meet up with them in real life. And the second part of that is really about content and experiencing what it's like in any place in the world in real time. And so what we do there is we take snaps that users have submitted to our story, which is the public way that you submit snaps to Snapchat. And then we create a heat map of the latest snaps on the map. We put the heat map on the map that you can see here on the screenshot. And then you're able to zoom in on the map and tap the heat map and then see the latest snaps, photos and videos that were taken in that area. So for example, like if you want to see what the line outside the Apple Store for like the latest iPhone release is like, you can zoom into the Apple Store, tap, see videos. I just came to San Francisco a few weeks ago, and I was getting to my hotel, and there were like all these people walking around in like super weird get-ups, and I had no idea what was going on. And I opened Snap Map. There's a huge heat spot in Soma. I tapped it and then realized it was this like how weird like festival, and I saw some like pretty crazy content going on. And so you can really experience your local surroundings or see what it's like right now anywhere in the world. So the volcanoes in Hawaii right now, or you could go to Saudi Arabia and see what it's like at Mecca, or the Rugby World Cup in France right now.
That's incredible. And that's such an interesting way of using maps. Where did the original idea for Snap Map come from? And what were the original problems you were looking to solve?
Sure. So Snapchat had a product called Live Stories for a long time. And what Live Stories were stories that were produced by Snapchat's content curation team from snaps that users had submitted. And the first Live Stories were around things like EDC, music festivals, college campuses, things like that. One of the first really hard-hitting news stories that the team produced was the San Bernardino Shootings. And they produced a really compelling story that had incredible footage of snaps of policemen or the SWAT team members or people who were in buildings on lockdown. But it was a little weird because the San Bernardino story showed up in Snapchat right next to stories about college campuses or holiday markets. And so Andrew Lin and I started the Snapchat New York engineering office in January of 2016. And the executive team said, hey, figure out how to do news. So it really came from news. And we got to Snapchat. I wasn't convinced at the time that Snapchat had compelling content to do news. So one of the first things that we did was we built a search tool, an internal search tool for ourselves to really explore this content. And so we built a native Mac desktop app. And one of the first days that we actually had it hooked up to live data, we looked at it. And the way that the tool worked was, of course, we love maps. So we had a map, we had a heat map, we actually had a time slider. And so you could drag the time slider through time and then see how the heat map changed over time. And so the idea behind that was that you could visually see when things were happening. So one of the first days that we had the tool hooked up, we came into work, and it turned out there was a crane collapse in New York that morning. We're based in New York, so it was very relevant to us. And so we started looking at the content in this tool, and it was really amazing. So we had snaps. As soon as the crane hit the ground, people ran to the window and started snapping in content about this. And so we had snaps of people evacuating buildings, the first responders coming, police cars, fire trucks, ambulances. They're wheeling out stretchers. And then we actually have a snap of the first local news van pulling up and the reporters getting out. And that was about 15 minutes after the event had started. And so we actually had 15 minutes worth of content before the first local news van pulled up. And so it was kind of at that point that Andrew and I turned to each other and we said, wow, like we can really do this. We can really do news. We have amazing, incredible content, and we've got to get it out there. And so what we did was we demoed the tool to Evan, along with a proposal to produce news stories. And Evan said, that's great, you should do that, but this tool is awesome. Like, how can I play with this? And he said, we said, it's a desktop app. And he goes, well, I don't want that. Like, can you give me a version that I can play with on my phone? And so we said, yeah, OK. And one of the engineers went back over the weekend and ported it to an iPhone app. We gave it to Evan on the Monday, and he started playing around with it. And he loved it. And so what we ended up doing was, for a while, we were developing it on nights and weekends. And then one day, we were talking with Evan, and we said, let's ship this to Snapchat users. And so we paired up with the design team. We have a great designer. And we added friend location sharing, the Bitmojis onto the map. And then we launched the product inside of Snapchat last June. And today, we have over 100 million monthly active users.
Wow. That's awesome. And it's incredible to just think about where SnapMap got its start and just the impact that it's had today. I mean, like you said, in terms of being a platform for really surfacing news stories, has it had the impact that you sort of expected, both from just surfacing news and content, but also just from a business perspective?
Yeah, I think so. And these slides show one of the first really important news events that unfolded on SnapMap. We were really, on the news aspect, we're really trying to position SnapMap as the go-to place to experience breaking news. And so if you think about Twitter as kind of text first, Snapchat is all about talking in photos and videos. And the map is a really powerful interface to see what it's like on the ground through people's eyes. And so it's a really raw, unfiltered, intimate, emotional connection to people who are on the ground. So this is Hurricane Harvey was one of the first really important news events that unfolded on SnapMap. A lot of good press came out around this. And we really saw people using it a number of ways. One thing that was really cool was we saw people who had to evacuate, and then they were using SnapMap to actually zoom in on their neighborhood and their street and even their house, and tapping and looking at content, and they could see if their neighborhood was flooded, if their house was okay, if it was safe to come back. And Hurricane Harvey was really a very geographically spread out event, and the map is a really great interface to very quickly and powerfully see what's happening in any one particular location. It's really the best interface to do that with.
And so just taking a step back, can you talk a bit about how you built SnapMap and some of the design decisions that you made? I mean, looking at the Snap, we've seen Bitmoji, we've seen this amazing sort of terrain, this really cool water layer. Can you just talk a bit about what was really important to you as you were designing it?
Sure. Yeah, I think if you go to the, oh yeah, this was just to go back to this real quick. This was two other really important news events that happened on SnapMap were the high school walkouts. and we really saw, we were sitting there watching the high school walkouts happen. We didn't understand the scale of it as we were watching all this content come in until the end of the day. And we have algorithms that automatically detect these stories that you can see here. And we watched it go from 1 to 10 to 100 to 1,000 walkout stories during the day. And then the wildfires were another really important event that happened on SnapMap. And I'm from New York, but if you look at some of the imagery that we have here, I thought the world was ending as people were driving down the 405. Going back to your point about the design, I think you go to the next slide. We spent a lot of time really trying to get the look and feel of the map right. And partnering with Mapbox really let us do that because we were able to use Mapbox Studio and really collaborate with cartographers from Mapbox around the look and feel and the design. One of the things that we were trying to do is really establish a design that was a home for the Bitmojis, so a very cartoony kind of look and feel. We're trying to build a Bitmoji world, and it's a place that isn't quite the real world. It's a place that your Bitmoji friends can feel at home in. And so you can see here on some of the designs the little waves in the water. Mm-hmm. We have little shrubs, little cartoony shrubs. And so we were really able to customize that look and feel with the studio editor.
Do you see map design continuing to really play an important role to SnapMap and sort of how you drive engagement with it?
Definitely. I mean, I think these holiday maps that you see, if you go back. Yeah. The holiday maps are a really good example of that. So the first one that we did was the Halloween one that's here. And that one was almost a little bit on a whim. One of the designers was kind of like, let's do something for Halloween. Can we tweak the style of the map? And so using Mapbox Studio, we're able to very quickly change the color palette. And then we really want to just have fun with it. And so we did the black and the kind of orange and blood red rivers almost. And you can see that we have what we call action emoji, where we change your Bitmoji to doing something fun. So for example, like if you're driving, we'll put you in a car. If you're at the airport, you'll be dragging your luggage. And so for Halloween, you can see here we have like the zombie walk. We have jack-o'-lanterns and people trick-or-treating. And what we saw was users' engagement went through the roof on Halloween when people saw this. Like I was actually like blown away. Twitter was completely blowing up. People really, really engaged with the map because of the style. And so we've now come to do styles for all the holidays. So you can see the Winter Wonderland that we did with different snowmen and candy canes and trees with snow, and then the Valentine's Day map that we did, and we continue to do those, and that really drives engagement on the product. We always see a huge spike, and users have come to really expect that and really love it. And so that actually people get excited before holidays coming up, and they start tweeting at us and they say, "What are you guys going to do for this holiday?"
Yeah, that's incredible. I absolutely love the holiday maps. And I think probably my favorite was the sort of egg hunt one, mainly because it had this really fun and sort of special custom map design specific to the occasion, and then also really combined it in an innovative way with AR and sort of discovery and really getting people to sort of move around. Can you spend some time and just talk through sort of what the egg hunt was and what it did to your engagement?
Yeah, the egg hunt was super fun. And we have some of the engineers who worked very hard on it here in the audience. It's kind of the origin of the egg hunt story was, like I said, we were doing holiday maps, and so at the beginning of the year, we were kind of planning out the holiday maps we wanted to do, and so we wanted to do one for Easter, and then I also wanted to do something for April Fool's Day, and then when we realized that Easter fell on April Fool's Day, we were like, okay, let's do something really big. And so we had this idea. We had kind of been toying around with the idea of trying to encourage people to do things in real life, but we didn't really have a good excuse to do that yet. And so we came up with this idea to do the egg hunt. And the way that it worked was we basically took a couple million eggs These are obviously virtual. We didn't put physical eggs out anywhere. And we hid them on the map all over the United States and Canada. Unfortunately, we didn't do it globally. And the idea was that you actually had to go, you could see where the eggs were on the map, and you actually had to go there in real life, so it's sort of Pokemon Go style. And once you got close enough to the egg, it unlocked a special AR lens. So you can see the end of the AR lens experience here. And then once you found the egg in the AR lens, you could grab it and put it into your basket, and then this twerking bunny would pop out of it and fly out of it, and you'd get another point on your scoreboard. And we had a global leaderboard and a friends leaderboard. And we kind of really didn't know what to expect when we launched it. The idea was that it was really a test. It was something fun and creative, which is what Snapchat is all about. But it was really a test for us to see if we could encourage people to get out into the real world and actually do things. And it blew away everybody's expectations. It was a huge success. I think we had something like 60 million eggs that were collected. I think almost 150,000 people got at least 100. And so it was a really huge success when we saw people who were in Snapchat basically the whole weekend that it ran, and engagement really went through the roof.
It's amazing. And so what are some of the things that you learned while building SnapMap, and how has it changed the way that Snap thinks about location and how location can really drive your business goals?
One of the things that we've learned is that personalization is really important, and I think you'll continue to see us do more around that. We recently launched a feature called Map Explore, and you can see it here. And so what Map Explore is, I think it's a really innovative design. We're trying to basically say, well, we've got this map. How do we draw your attention to things that are happening all over the world? What's the best way to do that on the design? And so we came up with this design where basically it's a feed of what we think is the most interesting thing to you. So whether that's friends who are going on long-distance trips, or things like important events that you might be interested in that are happening across the world or across the country. So I think personalization is really important, and you'll continue to see us do more of that. In terms of location as a whole at Snap, I mean, Snapchat is all about communicating through photos and videos. And location is a really important piece of that. So I think you saw one of the first products that we came out with at Snapchat around location was Geofilters. So you could take a snap and then apply a geofilter, which was dynamic based on where you were. So it's important to be able to say, this is where I am, and be able to do that in a really fun and easy way. I think the next thing that we've done was launch the SnapMap product, which obviously plays into location a great deal. And so now we actually, because people use Snapchat to communicate with their best friends and open it so many times a day, we have a real wealth of user location data. And so we can really use that to drive more innovative products, not only consumer products, but also ad targeting products as well, in a really good way. So I think location is extremely important to Snapchat, and you'll continue to see us launch more products that use it.
Can you share a bit more about some of those products coming down the line?
Probably not here, but yeah.
That's fair.
But stay tuned, Bersabel.
Awesome. So where do you see the future of SnapMap? Do you see it becoming sort of more central to Snapchat, or how do you sort of see it evolving in Snapchat as a product?
Sure. I think there's a few different ways. One right now is that it's pretty hard to actually get into the map if you're in Snapchat. So what you have to do, so Snapchat opens to the camera. We're a camera-first company because we're all about communicating via the camera. So right now, when you go to the camera screen, you actually have to pinch out to get into the map, which is a little bit of a weird gesture. So one thing that you'll see with the product is that we're continuing to weave SnapMap throughout the Snapchat product and ecosystem even more. So more entry points throughout the product. I think we've taken the very first step with this with the launch of Map Explorer, which has basically just happened. And so it's super early days here, and you'll continue to see us use this feed to drive people to doing interesting things on the map. We'll continue to personalize it, and I think we really want it to be more of a go-to destination where people are opening Snapchat in order to get to the map right away and really use it to engage with their friends and encourage real-life interactions. So.
And how has SnapMap affected your business model? I mean, you mentioned being able to build new ads products based on sort of the wealth of data you're able to collect. Can you speak more to that?
Sure. Well, we don't monetize SnapMap just yet. We've talked a lot about it, and the sales team is always knocking down our door to monetize it. So SnapMap itself isn't monetized, and we don't have plans to do that anytime soon. But we've seen that users who use SnapMap are really the most engaged users. And so it's really this sort of flywheel where when they're engaged with SnapMap, they're coming back to Snapchat, contributing more content, and that really helps our overall network and growth. Like you mentioned, with user location data, that's something that our team deals with a lot. And SnapMap really encourages people to open the app even more, and so we get that user location data. And then we're able to use user location data to do really smart, nuanced ad targeting to users and create new ad products out of that data that we can then sell. And we've started to roll those out on the ad side, and those have been very successful.
Awesome. Fantastic. So thanks again. I've told you this like many times, but I just think Snapchat and Snap is just such an innovative company, just in terms of the way you think about location and maps. I mean, being the first to sort of come out with a stories feature and really changing the way people think about sort of what a news feed is, and really doing that again with Snap Map. We have a bit of time, so I think we can open it up to questions. If anyone in the audience has some questions.
Sure. No questions?
No.
Bersabel, what's your favorite thing that you've seen on SnapMap?
Oh, so a really interesting story. So I was in France last summer, and it was like my first time in Marseille, and I had like I was by myself, I had no idea what to do, and I was like, I'll open up SnapMap, and I ended up finding like the biggest party in Marseille, and so that was like, and I
What
knew
kind of
what
party
to do.
was it?
It was weird. It was like, European, like techno. It was but it was fun. It was amazing. And I think like being able to, I mean, you sort of referenced this, but like if you want to figure out like, what does the line look like outside of this bar? Or like, what is the music playing at this bar? Am I going to like it? I think being able to like use it in that way is super interesting.
Yeah, I know. You look at, you're trying to figure out like one of the original ideas was, where do I go tonight? What do I do?
Yeah.
And so, if you look at, traditional places that you would search like Yelp, you can see the reviews and you can see all the photos, but you don't know what it's like that night. You don't know what it's like right now. Like you might have some awesome photos from a week ago, but it might be a totally dead night. And so, I've definitely found some interesting parties too, browsing around.
Did you hear that?
Yeah. So the question was, how do we search, index, and tag snaps? Is that right? Yeah. So snaps that are on the map are the public snaps that people submit to our story. So obviously we have the latitude and longitude of the snaps when people submit them. We basically have built entirely custom infrastructure to do that, which is global. So we take all of the snaps. We basically run a bunch of different pipelines. We apply a bunch of machine learning to actually filter out snaps that we don't think are interesting. So actually what you see on the map is really, I think it's less than half of what people have actually submitted to our story. So we have a bunch of different machine learning models where we try to figure out if certain snaps are interesting. So for example, like you won't see any just like selfies of people just like hanging out. And then what we do is we essentially we have custom indices that we store in. We're all in Google Cloud that we store in GCS. We have custom servers that are all around the world that then load up these indexes every couple minutes. So the snaps are really, I think we're right around like 3 or 4 minutes of latency. So if you take a snap, 3 minutes later you can see it on the map. So it's all custom servers that load up these indexes into memory, and then serve them from there. Does that answer the question? Okay.
Well,
Sorry, can you speak up a little bit? Oh, sure. Yeah, so the question was, can we talk about the human level of curation and how some of the stories and titles are put together on the map? So you can see, like in this example, I think there's Arc de Triomphe and Home Opener. So some of these stories, like the Arc de Triomphe, those are basically static places. And we've had people that have gone through and labeled these places. For the events that happen, we have algorithms that actually detect events in the stream of snaps that are coming in. And then we've built internal tools, and we do have internal content team members that are going through the stories. And so it's really sort of a hierarchy where if there's a story that the algorithm detects that's not very interesting, they can delete it off the map. If it's something that is kind of interesting, they can give it a title, and so people will give it a title. And if it's something that's really interesting, so for example, some of these news events that have happened, it basically gets escalated, and there's the content curation team will look at it and basically curate some of the best snaps and create stories out of it. Sorry, differences in behavior.
oh.
Right, so the question was, do we see differences in behavior in different countries? And the answer is yes, completely. Like we've been talking about, SnapMap is really about those two things, about seeing your friends and then about exploring the world and seeing content. And we do see very different behavior from people in different countries. So for example, in Saudi Arabia is a very big country for Snapchat. They post a lot of snaps, and they also view the most snaps on the map. So if you look at the session time of people viewing, in Saudi Arabia, it's really off the charts, and they're the ones that actually view the most snaps on the map. So they really just go all around the world viewing snaps. They don't use the location sharing feature as much as people in other countries. So we do see big variations across countries. Does the user interface restrain what we show on the map?
How many different events you show at one time? You have more density, or are you constrained such that you're actually not showing everything that you have available?
Right. So what we actually do is, based on the importance of the event, so what we try to do for important events is to have a story there, right? And so we have algorithms that detect when we think an event is happening, and we'll put the thumbnail with the story there. So what we do is, based on how important we think the story is, we cap it at a different zoom level, and then we basically collide it out too. So if you zoom all the way in, you can see all the different stories that are happening in different cities, or even within a city. Like New York, New York, San Francisco, there's always a ton of stuff happening. As you zoom out, you'll see them start to drop off and disappear, and then collide out. And then one of the things we've done with the Explore feature here is we're really trying to give you a feed to show you if there's something really interesting happening across the world that you might not have zoomed all the way out to see. The Explore feature will really try to point you there and show you that. I think we've got time for one more. Yeah. Well, we filed a lot of patents to protect the IP. I think we just got done signing a huge suite of patents. I'm not sure if there's. Is there another part of the question or? I don't know if it's. I wouldn't say it's the future of the company. It's definitely, it's not one of the most important features inside of Snapchat, but I think it is one of the most unique features inside of Snapchat. It's one of the things. It's one of the features that no one else has been able to copy, or has even really attempted to copy yet. So I really think it's very unique to Snapchat, and it's something that we really want to invest a lot in going forward.
Awesome. Cool. We're out of time, but thank you all, and thank you again, Walt. This is amazing.
Of course. I'll be around if anybody wants to chat. See me.
Cool.
Thank you so much, first of all.
Yeah.